Hello, and thank you for downloading and trialing the LANDWorksCAD software. I'm sure that you will enjoy it immensely, and hopefully you'll enjoy it as much as we've enjoyed creating it for the industry and helping it to become the most popular landscape CAD software. What I'd like to do for you is just give you a really brief overview so that you can actually get started on doing some work with the software and get a bit of an understanding of how it actually operates. Essentially, there are three main menus across the top of the screen, what are called the entities menus, and I can actually grab that and drag it out. So this is the entities menu, and when you click across the top of a menu such as this one, it activates what they call child menus underneath. So these are like parents. Click lines and I end up with line tools. If I click points, then underneath I have points tools. Click circles, and here I have circles tools, and so on. Here I've got text, and these are the text tools. Here are dimensions, and so I've got dimension tools. So you get the idea that essentially you have to click first on the type of entity that you wish to draw, and then you have to choose what method you would like to use to actually insert that entity into your drawing. These menus typically are found at the top of your screen, and you can rearrange them, but we do recommend that as a beginner, just leave them as they've come out of the box, so to speak, and you'll find that you'll be able to follow the tutorials more easily this way. Now, the menus across the top are general purpose, so you can use these items to pretty much do any regular type drawing, anything at all from rocket ships to motor vehicles. However, down the left-hand side are commands that are absolutely specific to landscape. So when I choose these landscape tools, rather than having a new menu item appear, it would typically bring up a dialog box which I would complete or select from, and when I was then selecting one of the insertion tools or one of the other tools that are in here, it would then act upon that command and go ahead and do whatever it was I was asking it to do. Let's start with something as simple as drawing some lines. And I will click on the lines tool. Directly underneath, I've got to choose what method of drawing a line. Most of what you'll do will be done with this very first line tool. It's just called insert line, and rather than being restrictive in any way, it allows you to, and we'll click on it, it allows you to insert from any point to any other point. Now, if you're not sure what a command does, hold your cursor directly over the icon and you will get a useful tool tip that will tell you what that particular command is supposed to do for you. And you will also see the tooltip here. This is known as the prompt. So after you've selected something, have a look up here. It'll tell you what to do next. It says here, for instance, select the start of the line. Well, let's just draw an enclosed shape. I'll click a point. I'll then look, as a beginner in particular, I'll look back up here and it says now to select the end of the line. You'll see as I'm moving my cursor to a new location, I'm getting a readout at the end of my cursor. Now that readout is actually in millimeters, so in this case I'm about 6,679.25 millimeters long. And if I'm happy with that as a number, keep in mind I'm just being freehand at the moment, I'm not typing any actual values. I can click another point and I know now that that line represents roughly 6.6 meters. I can continue to design my shape and build perhaps the outline of a block of land. And if I press down on the Shift key whilst I'm drawing, it will lock the line to be either horizontal or vertical or any multiple of 45 degrees. So I'm just moving here and clicking away. When I let go of the Shift key, all of a sudden I have freedom of movement again. If I wish to close off this shape, all I do is take my cursor directly to the end of the line until I get a square. Now you'll notice at the moment that that is a diamond. Well, I don't want a diamond because if I choose and click now, it will actually draw the line that I've got attached to my cursor at right angles to this. So I'll show that first. So if I click now, it's drawn this last line segment on to this line at right angles to it, and that's what that diamond meant. I'm going to use the undo key or undo button. Control Z is the undo, or Command Z is the undo on a Mac machine, which is the same for all programs, not just this CAD program. So what I really want to do is I want the end of this line to actually attach to the end of this one. And you can see as I bring my cursor up, I'm getting a small square. When I see the small square, even if my cursor isn't exactly on the end of the line, and I click my left mouse button, I automatically have the line snap to the end of that line. So the small square indicates that it has found the end, and no matter what I do, so long as I don't shift my mouse erratically when I'm clicking, and I click with my left mouse button, it will jump to that point. I'll do that one more time down here. Notice I've got there a diamond. I don't wish for a diamond. I'm going to come down until I get a square. There's my square. I'm going to click now, and my line automatically attached to the end of this vertical line. Now you'll see that I'm continuously working through drawing lines. How do I stop? Well, I can either press the escape key on my keyboard, or easier, press the right mouse button. I've pressed it once, and this has broken the chain of lines that I'm drawing, but it still allows me to continue the same command. Now this is typically true of most of the commands in the system, in that they will continue to be utilized and repeat themselves without you having to do anything. It's making the assumption that you're probably wanting to draw a few more lines. And in this case, I actually do. I'm going to start my line out here, and I'm going to draw holding the Shift key down to give me a vertical line. I'm going to draw all the way down here and click. I'm going to right click to let go of the drawing process. If I right click one more time, take a note of what's going on up here, so I right click one more time, it takes me back to no command at all, so none of these commands are active, no commands are active, and it now allows me to select objects such as this line, or this line, or this line, or click and drag a box around a set of objects, fully enclosing them, to select multiple objects, and allows me, if I hold either the Control, the Command key in a Mac, or the Shift key in both a Mac and a PC, I can add extra lines to my selection of lines. And I can also, by reselecting whilst still holding the Shift key, I can deselect various lines. But now that I have some lines selected using the ability to just click on them with the diamond is showing, I can now throw these lines away, or delete them, or move them, or do anything with them. Let's first move them. I hold my cursor over one of the lines, I click and hold, and I drag these lines to a new location. When I let go, those lines have been positioned where I left them. They are still highlighted, so if I wanted to delete them at this point, I could use the trash can and it would delete the selected objects. If I wanted to repeat that, I would simply choose the lines and again hit the garbage bin, select the line and hit the garbage bin. Now a shortcut is to press the Enter key to repeat the last command. So by me pressing the Enter key now, I have deleted that last line. One additional tool that I find very useful, and I think you will too, when there is no command, you have nothing active, none of the commands are active, but you wish to act and trim perhaps this line back or trim this off, is to hold down the Alt key, and on a Mac that would be the Option Alt key. Hold that down, left click and just drag your cursor over the end of the line, and it will literally trim that line back to where it meets the next available line. If there are no lines to trim, it will actually delete the object. So it is both a delete and a trim back tool. The undo command, which sits here every time you click on it, and now that I have clicked on it once, I can use the Enter key again undoes all of the way back, so we can undo the entire job. So every time I press the key, it is undoing every aspect and every line that I drew. Luckily, there's also a redo, so if you've gone back too far, you can keep hitting the redo and it will repeat. The word trim in this program also means to extend. One of the best ways to trim, not the typical way that we teach, but one of the best ways is to hold your cursor over the object that you wish to either make shorter or longer until the diamond appears, right-click, and then choose Trim. As I move my mouse, the line will follow in line with my mouse, and again I should follow the prompt, and here it says to select the intersecting entity or a position to trim to. Now if I click here, it will trim to that position. However, if I select the line again, and keep in mind I'm still in the trim command, I haven't exited the trim command, so it's just repeating, and I select this line again, I could trim back down to this point. Again, select this line. I could now trim till it met this line. So it found where this line and this line intersected. I could do exactly the same for any other line. I could, for instance, say lengthen or trim, same command, this line until it lines up with this line. So this line has an imaginary go on forever-ness about it. Okay? And like I said before, you can continue to repeat any command that is already active until you right-click enough or press the escape key so that no command is active and the prompt says to select command or entities. Once you have a set of lines in place, you may wish to do something else with them. You may wish, for instance, to change the weight of them or their line thickness. Now I'm going to select these lines by literally clicking and dragging a box around only the lines I wish to capture. Now take a note of the box that I'm drawing and notice that the right hand line and the bottom line are not fully contained inside this box. So when I let go of my mouse, they will not get selected. But these lines did get selected because they were fully inside the box. Now that I've actually selected these lines, I can modify them. If I come down the bottom here, I can choose the Change General Properties tab, and here I can choose a different color for these lines. So I might choose these lines to become red, and I'm also going to choose the weight, and I'm going to make them heavier, a 0.7 line weight, and I might make them a dashed line style. So by selecting them, this dot will appear. So you'll see that back in the color, we've chosen red, back with weight, I've chosen a 0.7. Once I select OK, these lines are still selected, which is why they are still magenta. If I click the right mouse button or the left mouse button, it will then adopt the appearance that I have selected for those particular lines. If I wish to draw in a different line style than this one or this one, I can choose the properties before I start drawing. So if I choose any one of these, either this, or this command, any one of these will bring up the same dialog box just with a different tab active. So in this case, I'm going to choose the color one again. I'm going to choose to draw in blue, and I'm going to draw in a very fine dotted line, and I'm going to draw in a 0.25 line thickness, and I'm going to select OK. Down the bottom here is an indicator of the line style that I'm about to draw in. So pretty much anything that I insert into my drawing will have the properties of this particular line. even when we draw circles, it will be a dashed blue 0.25 circle. So let's do that now. Let's go to circles, and I'm going to pick a 3-point circle. I'm then going to follow the prompt. Select a point on the circumference of the circle. So if I select there, and then follow the prompt, select another point on the circumference of the circle, I'll pick that line. I now know that this circle is sitting hard up against this one, hard up against this one. In fact, it's tangent to those two lines. And if I pick a third point, I can pick in space, or I can pick a third line, and I know that this then passes exactly over the top of and exactly onto these lines, tangent to both of them. In fact, for this particular exercise, it would be good to also check what happens if we were to do the same thing on a circle. So again, it's re-asking me, so it's repeating the last command. It's asking again to select a point on the circumference of the circle. So again, I'll pick another object, this case this. Then I'll pick this one, and you'll see that it's tangent to those two objects. Notice too that as I drag it past the length of the purple line, it assumes the purple line is capable of being longer. And this would be true at this end as well. So it knows roughly where, or in fact it knows exactly and precisely where the purple line is. So if I click a point here, I know that if I was to extend this line outwards, it would actually be tangent to this circle. Now I hope that what I've shown you so far has given you a very simple indication as to where to look for things. So if I wanted to draw a curve, I would select the curve tools. Typically I would suggest you use this curve tool. It gives you a lot of control over how the curve appears. When you select it, rather than it going straight into the command, it's asking you to select a particular option. In this case, 2 is the degree of the curve that I wish to use, and I'm going to close the shape of the curve that I draw, select OK, and again follow the prompts. Select the start of the curve. Now I'm going to select my start right on the end there. Then I'm going to start clicking points around here, and every point I click gives me additional control over the shape that I'm building. You can see that I'm not actually designing anything in particular here. Now when I'm completed, I right click and it completes that particular loop or curve. And if I right click again, so check that I'm still in the command here, so I'm wishing to right click one more time or press the escape key, then I can select an object, and here I've actually got little points which if I click I can drag them into a new location, and I can actually change the shape of my curve. Now a curve can be as smooth or as bumpy as you desire it to be, and you'll notice that I haven't yet zoomed in or out on this drawing. It's very easy to zoom, and it's something that you'll want to do a lot. So here is what you do. Hold your cursor in the area that you wish to zoom, and then roll your mouse either away from you or closer to you to bring the drawing further away, or take the drawing further away, or bring it closer to you. If I want to take this drawing to the left, however, I press down on the wheel as if it were a button, and then I hold it down and move my cursor, and the screen and image moves with it to where I wish it to be. If at any time I get completely lost and I've completely lost my drawing into the distance, or it's completely off the screen and I have no idea where it is and how to find it, I can choose from the second group of icons this tool, which is the zoom tools, and I'll choose the zoom fit option, and it will bring the drawing back and make the entire drawing fit to the screen. There is a particular shortcut for this same command, which I'll share with you now. If I wanted to zoom fit, so I wanted to use this, but I didn't really want to have to come up here to do it, I can simply hold my cursor anywhere I like and double click on the mouse wheel. That double click action is exactly the same as me selecting this command. There are other zoom functions that I would encourage you to explore. Simply select the tool that you wish to explore and then follow the prompt. In this case it says locate the corner of the zoom window. So you can see that I'm in a zoom command. I'm picking a particular zoom command, and it may be that I wish to zoom in on this circle, and I wish to do it by clicking here, letting go of the mouse, moving across and clicking here. And now I have zoomed in very specifically to this particular circle. The objects themselves don't actually change size. It's only that you are zoomed in or out to the object. And to prove that, if I double click on an object such as this circle, I had no command active when I double clicked, so I had already escaped by pressing the right hand mouse button. So I've now double clicked on this circle. It tells me what the diameter is, the radius is of that particular circle. And yes, I can change the radius or change the diameter or the radius, and this will actually change in size. But I wanted to prove a point that here it is at 1 meter and 84 millimeters, 0.18, and no matter if I say OK to that and then zoom out, if I double click on it again, it's still 1 meter and 84 millimeters, 0.18. So the object itself doesn't change actual size, it's just your relationship to the object. We often talk about this as if you were looking down on your block of land and you were in a helicopter and you were rising above it and bringing yourself closer to it as you roll the mouse wheel in or take the mouse wheel further away. What we would suggest is that you have a look under the help menu. Make sure that you look at the online training abilities. We have a full online training package, and we make sure that you get help from us. We actually really enjoy helping people use the software. We understand that it's not always something that you'll naturally learn without some level of help. So with everyone, just call us or send us an email. If you click on this link, it should take you to our website, and I'll just drag the page that's on my second screen. So it's taken you to this page where you can either chat with us, you can make a phone call, or literally just send us an email. As I say, I hope you enjoy it. Oh, before we go, let's have a look at some of the other ways of simply drawing some lines that are at an accurate size. I think that would be worthwhile. So have a look. We are about to draw some lines in a dotted line style. I'm going to change the color to green, so come down here, choose a dark green, select OK. All these colors, by the way, can be changed. You're not locked into this particular color palette. You can actually load a palette. We don't have any ones sitting in here. Palettes are normally created by users, and they're very handy if you are working with other people's drawings. When you bring a drawing in from somebody else, you can bring with it their color scheme, and you can save their color scheme for future reference if you wish. So anyway, I'm going to use color 7. I may as well actually change the line style to this rather unusual one and select OK. And I'm now going to draw some straight lines using, guess what, the line tools. So click on lines. If I want only horizontal lines, I can use this. This will force a horizontal line no matter where I move my mouse. So this is a very handy tool. So again, just select it, click, follow the prompt, click a point to start, say here, and no matter where I move, no matter where I am, my cursor's right down the bottom here. If I was to click down here and snap to this end point, click, I know for a fact that this lines up neatly with that point. It didn't try and jump down to this location. It's forced to be horizontal. And in the same way, the y-axis line is always forced to be in the y direction. Even if I pick something like a circle to start my line on, you can see that my line is forced to stay vertical no matter what I do. So that too can be quite a useful function. However, let's assume I wish to draw lines without actually using my mouse to navigate around this particular drawing. I'll choose the Insert Line command. I'll pick a point, say here. I'll let go of the mouse for 1 second, and I'm going to press X on my keyboard. And you will notice at the top here that this field is highlighted and is waiting for me to type in a value that I wish to move in the X direction. So let's put in there 10,000. 10, 1, 2, 3, and that's equivalent obviously to 10 meters. And when I press the Enter key, I know now that that line is traveling in the X direction, the positive X direction, and that's indicated here, by the way. This is called a work plane, and the X direction is shown here. That's X. If I'm traveling left, then that's a minus number. So had I put in minus 10,000 here, the line would have traveled 10 meters to the left, and we'll do that in a second. And this is the Y direction here. So if I want to come down the screen in the Y direction, I press Y. I put in a minus, and then the value that I wish to come down the screen. So let's say 4,500. And enter on the keyboard. So I know that that is an accurate length of 4,500 millimeters. If I wish to come back now the 10 meters, again, doesn't matter where I put my cursor, I can press X and then minus 10 and then 3 zeros to give me my meters, and press Enter on the keyboard. And of course, there's no point in me using numbers to finish the job. All I've got to do is come up here and click. Right click to finish. So that's method number 1. So it's using what's called X and Y axes. Let's try another method now. Just going to click down on my middle mouse button, hold it down, move this drawing to the left, give me a bit more space to do some more work. I'm going to click here, and instead of using the X and Y coordinate system, I'm going to press D on my keyboard. By pressing D, the X and the Y elements have actually changed to D for distance and A for angle. So now I have to type in a distance and an angle. So if I type in a distance of say 5 meters, and I wish to also add an angle to this, I can use the Tab key and it will move across to the next field. I could also use the space bar, and as you can see, the space bar toggles you through every time I press down on the space bar. So too does the tab. So tab and space basically doing the same thing here. Or I could click there with my mouse, or I could press the A key, okay, and it would immediately jump to the A. And I could now put in the angle that I wish to go at. So let's say I wish the angle to be 15 degrees. When I press enter at this point, from where I started the line, which was right here, it is going to travel at an angle of 15 degrees for 5 meters. So let's press enter. There it is. So it's 15 degrees relative to the horizontal, and it is definitely only 5 meters high. If I was to I've right clicked by the way out of that. If I was to double click on the line, you can see that it is 5 meters long and it is an angle of 15 degrees. In addition to distance and angle, if I choose the same line command again, I can use L, which is for length. So this gives me the opportunity, so I've pressed L on the keyboard. I could have pressed B. B is for bearing. So bearing obviously is very good for the block of land that you might be drawing, because you may want to put in your degrees, minutes and seconds in that dialog box. In fact, let's do that now. So if I type B for bearing and I wish to put in degrees, minutes and seconds, I could put in that it is 25 degrees. Now how do you denote degrees? Well, you put in this symbol. Then you can put in minutes, 12 minutes, and 15 seconds. And I'm going to draw this line at a length of 5 meters. Press enter. So now I know that in terms of bearing, that has the correct bearing, and it too is 5 meters long. Commands for copying are typically found under this tool. This is the transform option, and this allows you to select multiple objects. So for instance, I could select this red line, hold down the shift key, select another one and another one that are all joined to each other. Again, I might even pick this one and this one. And then I could use the offset command. When I choose the offset command, I can choose to have rounded corners or not. I'm going to say no. And it highlights one of the lines that I've selected in this chain of lines. And all it's asking is, where do we want the offset to be placed? Now, if I position my mouse just here and I click, I now get an offset line that follows the same path as the selected lines. I can choose the same option but give it a specified distance if I choose this command. And if I choose the distance to be, say, 1 meter, and I select OK, and this time I come to the bottom of this line, okay, and I click here, that distance, regardless of the fact that I clicked lower, is 1 meter apart all the way through. As you can see, my drawing is starting to get a fair bit messy. I have several options, and I'm right-clicking just out of here. I can either select the entire drawing and press delete and start again, or if I undo that, I can select the bits that I do and don't want and continue to edit this particular drawing. Look, I hope you have fun. It is only just a little dabble that we're giving you here. Have a bit of a play too with some of these commands. This one in particular is for proposed plants. One of the more interesting areas in the landscape environment, I suppose, is proposed plants. When you first click on this, it may not come up immediately, depending on the speed of your computer. It actually has to write 2,500 plant details away to your machine the first time it's used. So be patient that these may not appear immediately. But essentially, here you have a list of available plants, and by picking on the plant name here or searching for it using the search tool, you have different types of images that you could insert into your drawing. If I choose the detailed figure, you'll see that this little option has been selected now, and I wish to place this by 2 scaled points. So I'm going to insert a tree using 2 clicks, and I'm going to follow the prompt you can see, and I'm going to zoom in on this right here. Might just place my tree say here, and then position it in that location. So you can see I've got a tree in that location, and I could position another one, make it a bit bigger, and another one, make it fit there, and so on. And this tree will stay attached to my cursor until I have completed my task and I right click to say I have finished. Now these objects are clever objects, okay? They know what they are, they know their name, they can be clicked on and moved, they can be resized by clicking on them and dragging on, and you can probably just see this little dot here. You can make them larger or smaller by dragging on the little square. Oh, and just to take you back, you can see that we're unstructured in this little showcase. If I wanted to copy this tree along this curve, I could say select this tree, then use this command here. So I'm in the transform commands. I wish to transform along or copy along, either by spacing or quantity. I think quantity might be the smartest. Oh no, probably spacing. We'll do a spacing and we'll make these around about, oh, I don't know, 5 meters apart. Okay, and we'll make these trees parallel, which means they're going to rotate very slightly as they go around to stay pretty much at the same orientation relative to the curve itself. I'm going to select OK. I'm going to follow the prompt. It says locate the origin of this selection. So the origin to me would be its middle. So I'm going to pick on the middle. Do you see that my cursor has a little circle in the middle? That means I found the middle of an object. So that was its middle. Then it says to locate the entity to copy along. Well, I want to copy along this particular entity. Doesn't really matter where I click. I'm just going to click here. And I've now got 5 meter spaces between each one of these trees. Now I don't think I like that. They're too far apart. I'm going to undo it. We'll repeat the same command. So select it again. Select this. This time instead of 5 meter spacings, let's make it 1200. Select OK and repeat. Find the center, pick the object, and now I've got these trees running all the way around at a 1200 distance. Right click to complete. Please ask as many questions as you like. Use the training material, the in-depth training material. It's a lot of fun to use this software. It is so far ahead of pretty much anything else in the market. It gives you unlimited abilities in terms of how good your drawings can look. It is totally customizable by you. You get to choose how your plants appear on the screen, even how your line work appears, what areas you fill and with what type of materials you fill them in terms of how it looks, and the presentation that you can give to a client is extremely good. I wouldn't say this is particularly good. This was just an ad hoc thing that we thought we'd definitely do. We're doing a special, as you're probably aware. The special that you're looking at, you'll be sent an email, and basically it's a kind of a thank you for downloading and trialing the software, but it's also got a little bit of a hurry up. In fact, it's got a major hurry up and make a decision about it along the way. We're offering a massive discount, so I do recommend. It's probably really worthwhile doing the training as soon as you can. Then if you like the software, you can sort of take the next step and embrace it. So please enjoy. Bye.